You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth!
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie prefers dead kids over stoned adults. The governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, was very concerned about his state's medical marijuana program. Quote, "I want New Jersey to be a compassionate state. And for people who this is your only option to get pain relief, for those who are terminally ill and are chronically ill, we've authorized it." End quote, the governor told the public. Paula and Phil were very concerned about their little baby girl, Sabina Rose. The 15-month-old was a darling child, but suffered from a rare form of epilepsy called Dravet syndrome. No pharmaceutical treatment would stop the severe seizures she would suffer sometimes multiple times per day. Soon, Paula and Phil found Megan and Brian Wilson, parents of another child with Dravet, who had been lobbying Governor Christie to expand access to medical marijuana for minors. Governor Christie would abide none of the talk of medical marijuana for kids. Quote, "I am not going to allow New Jersey to become a California or a Colorado where someone can fake a headache and get a bag of pot on every corner," said the governor. "So I'm very concerned if we go down this slope of allowing minors to use this, where it ends." End quote. Paula and Phil jumped over every ridiculously high hurdle Governor Christie's compassionate medical marijuana program created to restrict youth access. In New Jersey, unlike any other medical marijuana state, a doctor must register with the medical marijuana program. The doctor must register with the medical marijuana program in order to recommend cannabis. The couple found a registered doctor who was willing to help a 15-month-old patient. Not easy to do. Then the law required the couple to find a registered pediatrician for a second opinion supporting medical cannabis use for Sabina Rose, and they did. Then they had to find a registered psychiatrist for a third opinion agreeing with cannabis treatment, and they did. Finally, sending their completed paperwork and $200 fee to the state early last week. Governor Christie had a chance to remove some of these hurdles when a bill reached his desk that would have eliminated the need for 3 doctors to approve medical marijuana for kids. He vetoed that part of the legislation, leaving parents with severely disabled children in New Jersey the difficulty of getting a first opinion from just 250 doctors registered in the state, a second opinion from one of 2 pediatricians registered in the state, and a third opinion from one of just 16 psychiatrists registered in the state. Now, Brian and Megan Wilson had been lobbying the governor for access to the breakthrough cannabis oil high in cannabidiol, or CBD, from the Charlotte's Web plant. Now, since the story of little Charlotte Figi aired on CNN's documentary Weed, and Dr. Sanjay Gupta was exposing people to this miracle, parents across the country whose children suffer from Dravet have been clamoring for this marijuana concentrate. Little Charlotte went from hundreds of seizures a week that threatened her cognitive development and her life to barely 1 seizure a week. And the CBD oil she uses, it's so low in THC, lawmakers in Utah of all places, are considering legal importation of that oil as a hemp product, akin to a hemp soap or a hemp lotion or hemp seeds that also cannot get the user high. Paula and Phil had hoped to try the CBD oil on Sabina Rose, but it's unavailable in New Jersey, partially thanks to severe cultivation restrictions Governor Christie put in place for the state's one medical marijuana grow site. Restrictions that at one time included limiting the cultivation of marijuana to just 3 strains. Now, fortunately, that's been changed recently. And that those strains must produce less than 10% THC. Now, to provide some emergency relief for the children of parents like Paula and Phil and Megan and Brian, Lawmakers recently introduced a bill that would allow registered patients in New Jersey to travel to other medical marijuana states like Colorado and bring back the cannabis oil medicine to save their children's lives. Governor Christie blasted that move yesterday, saying, quote, "See, this is what happens. Every time you sign one expansion, then the advocates will come back and ask for another one. Here's what the advocates want. They want legalization of marijuana in New Jersey. It will not happen on my watch ever. I am done expanding the medical marijuana program under any circumstances, so we're done." End quote. On November 27th, Sabina Rose suffered a seizure that lasted 25 hours. Despite using all of the pharmaceutical rescue medications at the hospital's disposal, Sabina Rose had to be placed into a medically induced coma with severe brain damage. Sabina Rose died yesterday as Governor Christie was telling reporters, quote, "There's no outpouring of people signing up for this program. This is another one of those narrow groupthink policies put forward by the legislature, and I'm not going to continue to expand it because what they want is legalization. They're not getting legalization under this governor." End quote. Regardless of where one stands on the legalization of adults getting high on marijuana, one must understand that the CBD oil these parents are fighting for will never get anyone high and will save children's lives. Unless one is Governor Chris Christie, who'd rather let kids die than let adults get high. And when this story came across my desk this morning, it just reminds me why I do this every day and why you're out there listening every day and why we're fighting every day. For God's sake, Mormons in Utah can accept this CBD oil, Chris Christie. Your complaint about what's the slippery slope does not hold water when we're talking about an oil extract of high CBD oil that doesn't get anyone high. You are pandering to what you think the voters want to hear, which, by the way, you're going to find in a very rude awakening is not what the voters want to hear. The voters are ahead of you on medical marijuana, Governor Christie, and the only thing this can be seen as is rank cruelty and indifference to the suffering of children. Mr. Christie. I don't know how you sleep with yourself at night. I don't know how your conscience allows you to take another breath, knowing that you obstructed a 15-month-old girl from possibly receiving the best treatment ever, non-toxic, that would knock out her seizures and allow her to live a full, fruitful, healthy, wonderful life. That's on you, Governor Christie. And every kid who dies in New Jersey from here on out, that's on you. That's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll take this into hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. Me and Brian the Red hanging out. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.